watching this, you're probably at home. It's the holidays, it's the festive season, and we're about to wrap up the politics year of 2024. I'm joined by IOL Deputy Editor Lee Rondganger and IOL's digital politics journalist Kamogelo Moichela. Good morning, guys, and happy holidays.
Good morning. Happy holidays to everybody.
Good morning, sis. Happy holidays to everybody.
All right. We're obviously recording this towards the middle of December, and you're probably going to be watching this around Christmas. I'm not even sure when we're publishing this, but we're basically going to be reflecting on the political year that was. We, of course, did have elections this year on the 29th of May, if you've forgotten, and you probably voted for the ANC, the DA, the MK, the EFF, because those were the top four parties. And we're just going to discuss how we've landed in this political tsunami that we find ourselves in. And it all starts in December 16, 2023. What happened on that day, Kamogelo?
Hey, man. The day was a very shocking day. Remember, the ANC was celebrating the anniversary of the MK. It's armed right wing. And we were in Soweto. We were invited to Soweto. And then when we got them, it was obviously the briefing by the former president, the former statesman, Jacob Zuma. We were there. And then when you got there, we just saw some banners, the MK banners. And then that's where we knew that, no, something is off.
Something is cooking.
Yeah, no. Until the official announcement that, no, Zuma was launching the MK party. Yeah,
that was the press conference where he didn't speak at all, right?
He did speak. Zille did a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
That's where the daughter spoke to the media and to the nation as well.
Lee, just reflecting on that particular press conference on the December the 16th, 2023, did we expect that we'd be where we are now when former President Jacob Zuma made that announcement?
No. I think, at that point, we all thought that Zuma was a spent force, right? Zuma had been beaten. He had been beaten at the ANC elective conference, the previous elective conference.
We thought the buffalo was on top.
Yes, we thought the buffalo was on top. He came through, during the July 2021 riots, in his name, where a lot of looting and 50 billion rand to the economy. We thought, well, maybe the tide will turn against him again. And then, at that press conference, I thought I was one of those who thought, well, yeah, he'll start this political party, and it'll be a political party where there'll be a few seats for him and his family's relatives. And I didn't really take the MK party seriously. I also thought that there'd be a lot of challenges to the name for him to use the name MK. The ANC would have taken great umbrage to that. They have taken umbrage to it. They're still in court. They're still fighting over the name. But I did not expect Zuma to have such a say then at that moment. Obviously,
we know now.
It's weeks and months down the line when you could see. I live in KZN, and I think the first time I realized, shucks, this is a party to contend with, was when you drove around Durban and you saw all these people with the MK stickers at the back of their cars. You thought, wow, MK.
They've arrived.
They've arrived. And then, then you saw the people with their MK banners and rooting through the city. Yeah. Like, wow, okay, there's some momentum coming up. I didn't really take the MK party seriously. I also thought that there'd be a lot of challenges to the name for him to use the name MK. The ANC would have taken great umbrage to that.
So Lee, with me as well, like I remember I was in Durban. I'm from Umlazi, obviously, and we spent the holidays in Durban last year, December 2023. And the MK party had one of their motorcades. I can't remember, it was sometime along that Christmas week. And they had this humongous motorcade. And I remember even tweeting, oh, wow, you'd swear they're going to win the elections the way they've got so many cars. But I think those are signs that we should have took them more seriously at the time than we really did. Because I actually do remember that as this motorcade was driving past, like in my community, like all the grannies were jumping out and dancing, like, you know, like really like lapping it up. But for some reason, my political tone deafness just said, nah, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, you know, the thing is what those of us that we consider ourselves sober-minded, right?
And middle class.
So we think, okay, the ANC is the ANC. You know, people are loyal to the brand, the ANC. They're not going to just, even if it is Zuma and he opens another political party. The same thing happened with the EFF. We saw this with the EFF. Julius Malema spoke for the youth. He had this, apparently all the youth were going to vote for him. But the first general election, the EFF got 8% of the vote. You think, okay, and that's what I thought. My sober mind thought, well, the MK party will get maybe 5 to 8% of the election.
Not 14.
Actually, not 14. And that's where I thought. I looked at the EFF, I looked at COPE, I looked at all the breakaway parties of the ANC before that.
Yeah.
And then I projected what I thought MK would do. And I think that's where we all got it wrong, is that the Zulu nationalism, I think that we got wrong. I think that's where, but now it's a party that's building beyond that. You know, they have now in Coke, now they're bringing in people like Floyd Shivambu into the party, Darren Camper from the Western Cape. You know, it's not that they don't want to.
Are these moves designed to break that stereotype that the MK party is just another IFP with the stockhold and pays it in?
Yeah. Yeah, no, surely it is. It is. But then from my side, you remember when the official launch, man, I could see that no. I mean, given Zuma's popularity, how people admire Zuma, not even love, admire Zuma. Man, it was a fully packed hall there in Soweto. Outside, the packing was also full and all that. That's why I thought that no, this is quite the movement. But then after that, it's first media briefing. That's where I knew that no, this is a well-formed political party. This is going to contest. So yeah, man. I mean, with also roping like your Floyd Shivambu, your now Dalimpofu, Buswem Kwabani. I mean, it's just the issue of breaking the issue of no, this thing is a Zulu thing and whatnot. So yeah, man. I think but then you can expect more. To go to MK. I mean, your Brian Molefe and all that. Because remember, in some briefings, Julius Malema would say no. If they win elections, they would take Marcela Koko and Brian Molefe to fix the issue of ESCOM and all that. Yeah. So man, it's that is that, man. Now Brian Molefe is with MK. I mean, you never expected that. You're Lucky Montana and all these people are there. So I'm not sure about it.
Interesting you'll talk about the next election because everybody is looking at this as the MK party building that momentum towards the 2026. Lee, what's your litmus test on the MK and how do they look like in prep for 2026?
So I think what the MK party is doing now is that they are capturing themselves as the left. They're capturing the left. They want to bring in all the political parties that are left-leaning, all the political people that are left-leaning, and those that find themselves in the left-leaning and say, well, listen, the people that are supposed to be speaking on your behalf, the ANC, have abandoned you. They have gone towards the term they are throwing around quite liberally nowadays is white monopoly capital. They've been captured by the Stellenbosch mafia. We speak on the left. Even the EFF, they're trying to capture those people that lean towards the EFF and saying, well, we are the true leftists here. And that's why they're trying to collapse all the political, all the black left-leaning parties into one movement, which has now been fought very viciously by Julius Malema, who was totally against that. He doesn't want to form into this. He believes that the EFF is the party to carry. So the big litmus test, obviously, you're going to find a lot of by-elections. This past week, there were a few by-elections that took place in KZN. The MK party won none of those by-elections. They were won by the IFP. The ANC retained some of those things. So, you know, you really can't...
So there's a bit of a warning sign for them as well, not to be...
No, not really. You must look at where these by-elections took place. And these by-elections took place in predominantly IFP or strongholds of the IFP. You know, they are, if you look at it, that election map of KZN, and you'll see it's pink. Most of it is pink.
Yeah.
But in the middle of KZN, really, in here, Zululand, Ulundi, it's still that brown, that brownish color, that IFP color. So that's where the strongholds of the IFP are. It's very hard to wrestle to wrestle support from that IFP area. Even during when Zuma was president of the ANC, they couldn't take that portion. I mean, Zuma's famously mocked for never ever winning in Nkandla, even though in Nkandla he's almost in Nkandla. Nobody votes for him in Nkandla. So
Nkandla remains an IFP stronghold.
Nkandla remains an IFP thing.
The former president being from there.
So we can't really look at the by-elections right now in those areas. But what would be telling, if there are by-elections in the metros, and if the MK starts snatching wards. So if the eThekwini municipality start having by-elections in, for safe areas like Umlazi, Lamontville, let's go to Komashu and those areas, and then we can start saying, okay.
And we obviously know that the MK party did phenomenally in
yeah. You must remember there's in Durban at the moment, in eThekwini, there is a sense of dread that is in the municipalities at the moment, because the ANC knows that amongst their councillors that are ANC councillors or MK supporters, they fear that. They don't want to...
Who are ready to pack up and go at any time.
Who are ready to pack up and go. So they sit there and they draw a salary as ANC councillors in the eThekwini municipality. But these are guys who are actively on the ground campaigning for MK. And the ANC in KZN and in Durban are fighting and clawing back their way out here, trying to convince people to come back home. What is going to be telling for me in the MK party is them bringing in, and I would like to say parachuting these big name members in and putting them into high profile positions. What happened to those people who helped the MK get 14% of the elections, who helped them on the ground? And these guys were in the EFF, they were in other parties at the time, and now you parachute these guys and you say, now you're a leader here in our party.
Yeah, you need to make space for Brian Molefe.
Exactly. So these guys that were on the ground. So there's a lot of this happening at MK at the moment. People are challenging them, taking them to court. There are people that are disgruntled on the ground and say, well, you know, we worked hard.
But don't you think that the centralization of power at the feet of former President Jacob Zuma then addresses that? Because as we know, the MK party is pretty much a one-man party right now in terms of their leadership structures. It's Jacob Zuma who appoints the Secretary General. How many Secretary Generals has the MK party had in the last 7 months? Is it not 6, 5?
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
So him having that power, him announcing quite outright that there will be no elective conference for God knows how many years, does that not aid them in just having a bit that more control, or does it set them up for a disaster should anything happen to them?
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword, because at the one, in a party like this, it's nice to have centralized power, because you don't have any ambitions creeping in. You say, I'm the one who calls the shots. But at the same time, when you take away the ambitions of people, do people work as hard for you if they're not rewarded for it? I don't know. Kamo, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, it's a very much two-way street. If you don't change leadership for the longest time, I think it'll affect the party as well. I mean, look at just the issue of the EFF now. Look at the EFF now. They are now going to the elective conference, with Julius still being that guy has been the president from 2013 until now. What change has been there due to the EFF? I mean, but then yeah. I mean, it's very wrong for one person to control the whole party. I mean, now we know that the decisions are made.
But one thing that it does do is that it completely shuts off the space for any contestation, because nobody can then put their hand up and say, I want to challenge President Zuma for the leadership of the MK. Nobody can put their hand up and say, I want to challenge Floyd Shivambu for General Secretary. So it's quite an interesting thing, and we do know that there are pockets of South Africans who are thirsty for a dictator, who believe that South Africa should be run by a dictator so that more things can be done. This is a sentiment that does exist amongst our people, and MK will give them a sense of that. But in so doing, it does sort of shut down that space for democratic participation. Because I mean, if you become a political opponent of the president, it's very easy for him to get rid of you. He's got all the powers to expel you, and you out, and that's it. So there's very little recourse you can do under the way that the party is structured at the moment. So it'll be quite interesting. And let's just close up on this MK matter. They definitely were at Tsunami on May 29. I don't think anybody can. If we had to score the elections and say these were the winners and these were the losers, on May 29, when it came to those votes, the MK party was definitely one of the winners. But on the negotiation tables afterwards, they were definitely one of the losers as well. Of course, they couldn't find that extra 4% from another party to take them over the line in KZN. What do you think that will continue to be the case, Lee, or do you expect that at some point, maybe not next year, in the future, that we could see the current government of, what is it called, provincial unity dismantled for an MK party aligned, whatever?
Yeah. So on the ground already, you can hear the murmurings that the MK party is preparing the groundwork to challenge the KZN Premier Tamin Tuli in the legislature with the vote of no confidence. They've already put it out there. It's in the public domain. So they're preparing the groundwork to do that. They believe that they are the biggest, they won the biggest share of the vote in the KZN legislature, in the KZN province, and they should lead.
They did win the most votes, yes.
They did. They got 45% of the vote.
Yep.
The IFP got 18% of the vote, and the IFP is the one with the premiership. They do. So they should be able. They should have been given the first chance to form a government. They should have been given that. But in the beginning, I think that how well they did may have even surprised them, because they went into the election.
They weren't expecting it,
and they had no plan what happens after. You know, even when it came to the negotiations, to form a government of national unity, national and provincial. The IFP, at a press conference that I was, when they were forming the government, the IFP was deciding where they want to go. The IFP president said that they waited for MK party at one of the hotels in Durban for 3 hours. They didn't pitch up, so they were waiting for them. They want to negotiate with you guys and say, listen, let's form a government. The MK party just did not pitch up.
But let's be honest, the IFP was always going to work with the DA versus
the
MK.
That is.
I guess so.
But you still need to avail yourself for that conversation, give yourself that space to persuade.
Yeah.
But I don't see the DA, ANC, and giving power to the party in KZN. I don't see them doing. It's a big battle to just power to the MK party.
Yeah, but the MK could still run a minority government. It doesn't. They don't have to have all the votes. They could work with different parties on different issues to push through a vote.
You're talking in a case where the GPU implodes.
Yeah. They could still form a government. They could still form, like is happening now in Gauteng. It's a minority government in place there. So they work with different parties on different issues. Nobody has the outright majority. And I guess this is the phase us as Africans need to get used to now, because as an electorate we are divided on who must lead us. We don't want to think. We have. And I think this is good for democracy. I think long term, this is good for democracy, because what you technically have now in KZN are people who have voted for 3 different parties in their lifetime. You know, you could have voted for the ANC 94. In the 2000s, you could have voted EFF, and now you could have voted MK. So people understand, and it's a good thing for democracy for us to have that ability where people have voted for more than one political party to say, you know what, if I am,
you can change your vote.
Exactly. If I'm fed up with the status quo, I'm fed up with service delivery in my area, my neighborhood, I'm thoughtful of whatever's going on, I can vote the next people out. And it's that mentality that we used to have before, where no matter rain or shine, people still voted for the ANC.
Funny enough,
They voted. I remember interviewing people as a journalist out there, old grannies. Who are you going to vote for, man? I'm going to vote for Mandela. It was Thabo Mbeki in the ballot. It was the thing. They only voted for Mandela, so they're going to. They always voted for the party Mandela, but that's changing now. You know, that party Mandela is changing. So, and that's a good thing for democracy.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Lee, that it's funny that the people that are driving this would be the people that you least expect, your Julius Malemas and your Jacob Zumas, who you like so much associate with the ANC. You just couldn't fathom how a Jacob Zuma or a Julius Malema would one day go up against the ANC. But that's politics for you, right?
That is politics. And you think about it, the party of Mandela still has 66% of the vote. If all the people, the party of Mandela still has, if
you put them together,
the party of Mandela still has more than 60% of the vote. They have 2/3 of the vote. So the DA has made no inroads in politics in the black middle class, the black majority.
You could argue they've succeeded in dividing the votes, though.
They have. That's what they've done. That's brilliant if that is their aim. But they've made no inroads in actually capturing the hearts and souls, the minds of the black majority. But if their mission was to divide, they've done a sterling job at it.
All right. The MK story is obviously a big story in politics in 2024. I think that's why we spent way longer than we planned to on that. I think our aim was to talk about 7 minutes on the MK. We've done 19 minutes, but it is what it is, right? That said, let's move on to the elections. Part 2 coming up. Welcome back. We are in part 2 of the IOL News Politics podcast of 2024. We're going to jump straight into the elections now. The ANC dipped below 50%, or 40% in these elections, more than a 17% drop from the results in 2019. How are things looking for the ANC, Kamo?
Yeah, no, man. No, things are bad for the ANC. They are also confessing that Zuma did them dirty, and obviously they lost the elections due to their negligence to the public. Remember, people have been complaining about how the ANC is not rendering service to them. The issue of service delivery, yes, that one. Water, electricity, the cost of living and all that. Remember, in 1994, the ANC promised that it will deliver a better life for all. So it's now a challenge for them, and the support has gone down. Yeah, man. I mean, they've suffered a very hard blow on that. And yeah, I mean, that is just that, man. They are now trying to balance here and there, trying to back some of the that's why you saw that even before the elections, the election campaigns and all that, they would bring out some big names, your former deputy president, your Sihle Mlambo, your
tried everything, but nothing seemed to be
tried
working.
Everything, man. They tried it because I think the reason for that is that people are now tired of the ANC.
Okay, we're just losing Kamo there. Lee, I'm looking at the history of the ANC. The ANC lost the Western Cape It never got it back. The ANC lost. Okay, when the ANC loses a particular province, a particular city, they've been able to almost wrestle it back here in Johannesburg. But historically, when they lose a province, they never get it back. What's the outlook looking like for the ANC going forward?
Yeah. So let's look back at '94, right? The IFP controlled the KZN as a province, and how the ANC won that province back from the IFP through school in the Ndebele at the time was that the IFP, the ANC, where they controlled, where they had power, built infrastructure into rural areas. They had a big infrastructure build. They were winning the hearts and minds of people in KZN, and that's what was able for them after '94 to wrestle KZN from the IFP for the first time. And what has happened was that money, greed, and power crept into the ANC. They stopped delivering to the people. And started delivering to businesses. People were lining individuals' pockets. People were lining the ANC's pockets as an organization. So they lost their way, in a sense, for that, and they were beholden now to these powerful businesses. The business interests will control them through tenders, the tender networks that came about. And this is why they lost the Western Cape, because they stopped looking after the people. They went after the money, and then the DA was able to capture that from them. And what the DA does well in the Western Cape is that they deliver services. They don't deliver services to everybody, but the people that vote for them, they make sure that they deliver services.
Yeah.
And I think nobody can say that under Park's Tower, for an example, the Joburg Metro was very well run. Nobody can say that the Joburg Metro was a badly run. Well, it's subjective, but a lot of the times the ANC's their downfall, the ANC's biggest downfall is the ANC themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot when they start prioritizing tenders and business interests over the people. And this is where other people can come in and say, well, this is what we can do for you. They're doing nothing different. Remember the ANC in Gauteng, they built the Gautrain. Mbazima Shilo built the Gautrain. There's massive developments. Sandton came up because of the ANC. Midrand is a city on its own now because of ANC foresight. So there's nothing, you can't say the ANC has done nothing in South Africa or people. People have invested in places because the ANC has made it feasible for people to invest in those places. But where they have lost sight is the water issues in Tshwane, for an example, the tenders that have been given away, that nothing has happened, the hospitals that millions have been given away to people and no services delivered. And this is where when the tire hits the tar, this is where people vote, is because am I getting services at my clinic? Is water flowing in my taps? How often are the lights off at my home? These are the issues that matter.
The bread and butter issues.
The bread and butter, and these issues, and this is where the ANC is
falling short,
hearts and minds of people at the moment.
Yeah. All right, and obviously post-elections, President Cyril Ramaphosa managed to convene this government of national unity. I don't think we all know it's a grand coalition made up of the ANC, the DA, as the base of this formation, with the IFP. Who else is there? My goodness, why am I forgetting? The IFP, the PAC, the Patriotic Alliance, the Freedom Front Plus, Good Party, Al-Jama, what's a BOSA, and all of these parties. Reflections on the GNU. Has the GNU worked? Was this a good idea by President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC? Lee?
It was a good idea. The ANC had to form some sort of coalition to run the government, right? They didn't want to be seen to be abandoning their principles and going with the DA, because they could have gone with the DA alone and left out the other parties. But to save face, they invited other parties and political parties into this grand coalition, which they call.
So they're managing it politically.
But what's been the biggest thorn in their side has been Helen Zille, because she has called the ANC out for their lack of for their BS. I'm telling the lecturer that this is a government of national unity, and she's always corrected him, said, no, this is a coalition. Look at it. This is a coalition. They cannot make any decisions without consulting the DA, because we actually we are the tail that wags the dog, and this is what the DA has made it abundantly clear. Even this week now, with the issue of the bail bill and the education minister, Siviwe Gwaruba, they have sent out a press statement saying that if there's any murmurings that they fire the DA education minister, the GNU will fall apart. And this is a threat to the ANC, it's a threat to Ramaphosa, that don't mess with the DA, or else everything is going to fall apart.
It's coming from all sides, Kamo. You've got the DA this side saying, don't try us. You've got the SACP as well on the other side saying, we'll contest elections if you guys persist with this GNU nonsense. What does the ANC do?
Man, I mean, the GNU might be appreciated by the public and all that, but then, man, there's been a lot of internal squabbles in the ANC. People want the GNU, others do not, including the alliance partners, your SACP, your COSAD, and all that. The SACP man has been very vocal about the issue of the ANC joining forces with the DA. They made it clear that no, we do not want the ANC and DA alliance. The General Secretary Sihle Mlambo also said no, this thing was just a move of betrayal, to the people who fought for freedom and all that.
Samo, I want to ask you, what are the chances of a reimagined or realigned GNU going forward? I'm talking here about a GNU consisting of an EFF, a GNU consisting of an MK, or one or both.
If let's say now that the DA pulls out, obviously they'll have to convene another GNU with the MK maybe, and also the EFF, which the DA is not in favor of because of certain things, the business side. Mostly the business side, because they're saying no, the MK party, the ANC, and the EFF will run, and the EFF will run the economy to the ground. Apparently, they believe that no, they are not suitable for the nation. So, man, going forward, but then, even though the DA might make threats to say no, we are going to pull out, blah blah blah, and then don't threaten our ministers and all that, they're not going to pull out out of the GNU, because they know that no, I mean, like Lee rightfully said, it's only Helen Zille who's been.
Lee, let me just jump in there, Kamo. This is for you, Lee. Is there a scenario where Ramaphosa goes for a complete power play here, and he says, actually, I am going to fire Siviwe Gwaruba as the Minister of Basic Education, and then we see a situation where the DA, which is currently threatening to leave the GNU, still.
I think that's, we laugh about it.
We're actually not going anywhere.
that is a play that is still available to Ramaphosa. The DA can pull away. The ANC can still form a majority government if they pull
without the DA.
Without the DA. They can pull in the EFF and a coalition of the smaller minority parties, and they can make their 50+1. They could easily go that way. And they could call the DA's bluff. I think the DA has the most to lose if the GNU collapses. They have the most to lose if the GNU collapses. They could even pull in the MK party, but the stumbling block there is that Zuma does not want to work with Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa is Zuma's #1 enemy at the moment. And unless he can get past that, they'll never work with the MK. The ugly scenario for the ANC when it comes to the EFF is that the EFF demands. The EFF is also very hard on some of their demands. They don't like to concede. I think that the fear for the DA is that if the ANC EFF coalition comes into play, expropriation of land without compensation gets put back onto the table, which is
top agenda.
Top of the agenda. The radical economic transformation of the country also gets put in. The ANC has, over the last few years, have gone to sort of semi-privatizing a lot of state-owned institutions, such as SAA, ESCOM now has been unbundled, and they're opening up, and then down the line there's moves for Transnet and all these other states to unbundle these state-owned enterprises. But the ANC, the EFF, and the MK are very hardline on that those must be kept under state control.
Yeah.
The state must be involved in the economy from the beginning to the end of the economy. The DA, on the other hand, they want a free market economy. Let capital run stuff. Let government run government. And I think this is where these two sides clash, especially with the left. And this is why there's this contestation of ideas in the left, because the ANC is a leftist party, and they're more alike to the EFF and the MK than they are to the DA.
Yeah.
And this is why there's so much friction between these parties at the moment.
All right, let's just quickly touch on the DA and reflect on their election outcomes, the year they've had. What would you score the DA from the election results and the type of politics they've been playing in 2024?
No, man. What I can say is that the DA has played their cards very well. I mean, imagine Soweto voting for DA, because most of the DA voters are from Soweto. So what I'm saying is that no, the DA played their cards very well. Yeah, they've managed to, even though part of their campaign was not in townships most of the time, but then they managed to pull quite a crowd from the.
Lee, the DA wrestled a lot of those Freedom Front votes back.
That's why they've gone to the right, and this is what I think the Freedom Front gave them a big shock the last election, where they took a lot of those Afrikaans, those white Afrikaans vote, which is the core of their vote, and this is why they lost so badly. They had to crawl their way back, but in doing so, they turned.
But they did do a lot of. I don't want to. Okay, actually, it was a bit of Swat Kafar.
No, it wasn't. It has to be the DA. That's their playbook. That's their playbook from Tony Leon's days of the Fight Back campaign. That is their playbook. It's from the DA playbook, but they had to reclaim their core. But in reclaiming their core, they turned away a lot of aspirant black middle class voters who would have voted for them as well. You cannot win the South African. You cannot win South African elections if you don't win the black middle class, the African black middle class. And this is where the DA is finding it very, very hard to. All you have to the metros. If you have to win the metros, you have to win the rural votes.
Yeah.
And let's just say you can't win.
You need those working class votes.
Yeah, the working class vote. You cannot win that if you are still a party that is seen to be have interests of big white business.
Yeah.
Okay. And another one of the election successes is, of course, Gayton McKenzie's Patriotic Alliance. Is the Minister of Cool. Everybody seems to like him. What type of year has Gayton had, and what more can we expect from him going forward? Kamo?
No, I think if Gayton keeps his stance on the issue of closed borders and the mass deportation of illegal foreigners, I think he'll go very far. I think he got those votes because of the issue of mass deportation, closing borders, and making sure that people who are here foreigners who are here are legally documented. Remember when I think it was last year early like in January, where McKenzie went to the Bay Bridge to monitor the borders and all that. Yeah, I mean they I think that's what
that's the strategy.
Yeah, that's the strategy.
Abahambe.
Lee,
So,
is
yeah,
it all smoke and mirrors though?
No, it's not. You see, I think the biggest winner of this election, I would say, is Gayton McKenzie.
Above the MK.
Above the MK to a sense, you know,
Okay.
I think they are the biggest. They're the biggest cheerleaders of the GNU. More people know about the PA now
Mm.
than they've ever known about. If they didn't know about the PA before, they know about him now.
Yeah.
And everybody knew about Jacob Zuma before these elections.
Right.
Everybody knew the name MK before these
They're
elections.
on the map.
They were on the map, but now the Patriotic Alliance is also trying to move away from that colored nationalism thing that they've had, which they built their party on. They built their party on the misgivings of the colored populations in the Western Cape and Gauteng that feel disenfranchised, and in parts of in KZN as well, that feel disenfranchised and feel excluded from the system.
Not black enough, not white enough.
Exactly. And they feel that they've been excluded from the system. And the Patriotic Alliance, if you look at the clips that they in Parliament, they make no bones about fighting for those people. But they're now also trying to say, you can see recently with the Bella Bill, the Patriotic Alliance in Gayton McKenzie was on the sidelines marching with the right-wing Afrikaners for Afrikaans for the Bella Bill. So he's trying to make himself more appealing to even a broader sense, and maybe even go away from colored nationalism to Afrikaans-speaking people that he wants to incorporate into his party. Yeah. So he's the biggest cheerleader for the GNU at the moment, and I think that he's a marketing genius.
He's quite an interesting fellow. Really, he's got a way of capturing an audience. Which is quite unique in the political spectrum in South Africa, really.
Yeah, but then I think another thing that will compromise the PA is that, remember, he was criticized for that for joining your AfriForum, your DA on that Bella Bill match, the Bella Act match. He was criticized for that, and then now recently he was criticized for being quiet about Ramaphosa announcing the South African and Nigerian visa new developments and all that. Remember, he was quiet, and then he came out after to say, no, guys, but then you cannot make noise with any decision that is made in the GNU. So people are now pushing on saying, no, but then you are quiet about Ramaphosa's announcement with the Nigerian visa and all that. I think that's going forward. If maybe such decisions will be made going forward, and I think it will compromise him, because of he'll be silent, and then people now go for him. But then you have been very much about issue of, no, you don't want foreigners, you don't want illegal foreigners and all that. So I mean, going forward, man, it's a challenge for him.
All right, and guys, our last topic that we wanted to close the year with is the EFF, who are going to their conference, and by the time you're watching this, the EFF would have elected Julius Malema as the new president. We don't know who's going to be the deputy president. I think that's where the fireworks will be. We pretty much expect Marshall Dlamini to come back as Secretary General as well, if he doesn't become the deputy president, of course. Let's just reflect on the EFF, though. Of course, the EFF... I look at the EFF. Of course, the elections, they got swept away by the MK Tsunami as well. The MK wave hit them very hard. I think Malema and the EFF were caught sleeping in terms of the MK party, because they came into the 2024 elections craving that endorsement from a Jacob Zuma to endorse the EFF. Julius Malema opened up the party. He created space for a lot of Jacob Zuma's allies, your Manies, your Carl Niehauses, your Busisiwe Mkhwebanes, and many others who were given jobs in parliament as he tried to sort of like create a home for the RET forces. And of course, the RET forces have their new home again in the MK party. So the EFF's 2024 gamble, which was to grow in KZN, really backfired on December 16, 2023, didn't it?
That was the EFF strategy. That's why they held their main rally,
Mabhida.
Moses Mabhida Stadium. They knew that if they were going to make any improvements from the previous elections, 11%, they needed to win more people in KwaZulu-Natal. I think
and just on that point, in 2019, I think they had 350,000 more votes compared to 2014. I think in 2014 they had about 70,000. 2019 they had 300,000 votes improvement. So there was definitely, for them, it's like, okay, now we need to kick on from here and go closer to half a million.
And those 350,000 voters were all those people that had voted for the ANC under Zuma, who didn't want to vote for the ANC under Ramaphosa.
The ANC of Ramaphosa.
That went to the EFF. I think when Zuma announced that he was running, they
all went back home.
Exactly. Julius Malema probably put his head in his hands and thought, why now? Because he was hoping to increase that percentage of vote. And we could see, watching the EFF rally at Moses Mabhida, there were a lot of empty seats. There were lots of empty seats, and that was telling. I think even Malema himself was angry and disappointed that there was not more support, because it was a very, very dull opening.
Come on. One Floyd Shivambu was deployed to KZN by the EFF to drum up election support. One Floyd Shivambu left the EFF to join the MK party. What do we make of that?
Yeah, man. Floyd leaving the EFF was not expected in any way. It was a shock to many, including their EFF members. But then, man. Floyd, man. Now him joining the MK party, it's for some, it's seen as it's now a move that is meant to destroy the EFF. Like Malema said, he said no. We never expected Floyd going to MK. But then again, he recently said no. He blamed Floyd for KZN. Yeah, he said no, man. No, this thing of their support in KZN going down, it's because of Floyd. Little do you know that no, Floyd is going to MK party in KZN.
So now, Floyd went on the ground and he saw that hey, the wind is changing.
Yeah, no, I think he, and then now surprisingly the people of KZN love Floyd. The very same person who was deployed to KZN to run the ground, man, to make the ground fertile. He's now loved by the people who he was campaigning against. So
I would like to say that Floyd has never been loved in KZN. I was a young journalist who covered politics in KZN, and when Floyd was the deputy president of the ANC Youth League, they didn't like him. The ANC Youth League in KZN didn't like him. And
he was spokesperson, Lee.
Yeah,
he was the spokesperson.
Yeah, but he was the spokesperson of the ANC Youth League.
Yes, and
they didn't like when he came to KZN, and I remember going to a political rally for the ANC Youth League, and he was there, and he looked like a lonely soul. He was out there by himself, and I spoke to a few people about why isn't he as popular as Malema and the other guys? And one of the things was he doesn't speak Zulu.
Yeah.
So now maybe the tide is turning, because now maybe Zuma's brought him in.
Yeah.
This is Zuma's man. They gotta love him. But there is still resentment among some people in MK party that a lot of these guys have been parachuted into positions. And this is what I'm picking up on the ground, that people are saying, well, we've worked, we laid the groundwork, we were here. When nobody believed in MK, we believed in MK. We were the ones who stuck our neck out and said, this is the party we're going to vote for. These guys are all waiting to see what MK was going to become.
The guy who founded the entire thing is out in the cold. So who are they?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's why we Zuma
allegedly founded.
Yeah, I'm saying that's why the Zuma is warning them to say, guys, let's not fight for positions. I mean, most of them are fighting to say no, but then these people just came in now and already have positions. We have been on the ground, we've been door to door and all that, but then you don't have positions. Yeah, I think that's why we also the MK is facing the internal squabbles in terms of positions and all that.
All right, guys, as we wrap up, for the EFF and the MK, obviously we're seeing this Zuma versus Malema 2.0 happening, brewing. How far will that go, or how far can that go?
From my side, man, it can go a very long way. Because I mean, Zuma is in charge, Malema is in charge, and Malema is saying no, he's not going anywhere. People will have to keep up with him, being the president of the EFF.
Is this a threat to the what's it, Progressive Caucus?
It is a threat. It is a threat because now people will have to pick sides. It is a threat now because people now will have to pick sides to say no. Are we joining Malema? Are we with Zuma? And all that. So it's a bit tricky for them. But then
how much of this is actually political talk, and how much of it is
personal?
Personal is quite thing, because a lot of things that are set out in the public, when the doors close behind these politicians, they are the best of friends, they're the best of buddies. I think that what does this mean for the Progressive Caucus? I don't think much. I think that they will still work together. There are key issues that they still align on, that they'll continue to push against the GNU and the what they framing as the DA-led GNU. They will keep on pushing.
But we saw, Lee, that good old Tito Mboweni also was of that thinking as well.
Yeah.
Allegedly, according to messages, WhatsApp messages, whatever it is, but this is the framing that's happening at the moment with the progressive courses, that this is a DA-led GNU. They will still align publicly. They might have Malema needs to show his supporters that the old man from Nkandla is not beating him, that he still has say, that he still has swag, and this is what he's going to continue to do. Zuma doesn't need to say anything against Malema. He's wise enough, he's old enough, he's experienced enough to know when to.
He said Malema's my friend.
Exactly, and this is all he needs to say, and that's all he needs to say.
He's my friend. I know him from the ANC.
Wily old fox. He doesn't need to get into a public sledging or a public fight out with Malema at all. Malema likes those things. Malema likes the public spats. He's
like, let's get in the ring. I'm ready.
Let's get in the ring. Zuma's the one who will smile at the back of the room and see your downfall.
He'll give you a lacquer one on the kidneys.
Exactly.
When you're facing the other way. All right, guys, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
And with that said, we've come to the end of the podcast. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. If you swim, put a thing in my bob. What do you call these things? Floating.
Put on your armbands.
Don't drink and drive. Be safe. Enjoy your Christmas holidays with your families. Come back in one piece. Get some rest. We out. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.